I'm Rainbow Sparkle and I'm reading The Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton, and this is chapter 23, A Most Exciting Night. If only we could creep up the slippery slip that runs right around the middle of the tree and get to Moonface's at the top, we shall be able to find him and help him, said Bessie, feeling about for the trapdoor. I wonder why Moonface didn't slip down the slippery slip himself, said Joe. Oh, he'd think that there was going to be a lot of red goblins at the bottom of the tree ready to catch him if he flew out, said Joe. But I don't believe that they know about this slide. He found the trapdoor and swung it open. Hold it open for me while I climb in, said Bessie. Then they began to climb up. But dear me, it was terribly slippery. He simply couldn't manage to get up the slippery slip at all. As fast as he climbed up a little way, he slid all the way back down. He groaned. This is awful. We can never get up this way. I shall keep slipping down all the time. Let me try, said Bessie eagerly. So Joe slid out the trapdoor and Bessie crept in. But it was just the same for her as it was for Joe. The slide was far too steep and slippery to be climbed. Ah, isn't that really too bad, said Bessie with tears in her eyes. Wisha, 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 said the trees nearby. Bessie ran to one of them and put her ear up against the trunk. She listened. Tell the squirrel to go, said the leaves. Tell the squirrel to go. Red squirrel, you go up, said Bessie at once. Can you manage to, do you think? Yes, said the squirrel. I have claws on my feet to hold on with, and I am used to climbing. But what's the use of me going? I'm not clever enough to make plans with Moonface. Wisha, 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 said the trees loudly. Joe pressed his ear up to one of them. The squirrel can throw a rope down the slippery slip, Joe said. Of course. Why didn't they think of that? Tell us, said the girls. Joe told them what the plan was, and the squirrel must climb the slide to the top. He must ask Moonface for the rope to let us down for the cushions. But inside of letting through the branches of the tree, he must let it down the slide instead. Then we can hang on to it to be pulled up. That's a really good idea, said the girls, squeaking with joy. Shh, said Joe, as he heard a shout from the goblin up the tree. We don't want them to guess what we're doing. The goblins are coming down, whispered Fanny in alarm. I can hear them. What should we do? We'd better get inside the trapdoor and sit at the bottom of the slippery slip as quiet as mice, whispered Joe. Go in first, squirrel, and climb up. You know what to do, don't you? Yes, said the squirrel, and he disappeared up the slide, digging his sharp little claws into it as he climbed up all the way inside of the tree trunk. Joe pushed Bessie and Fanny inside the trapdoor. He climbed in and shut it just in time. 3 goblins jumped down to the foot of the tree and began hunting about. I thought I heard someone, they said. Well, so long as they can just pass the tree and then can't find us. Why can't they find us if we're hidden like this? I don't think I heard anyone. I think it was the trees whispering, said one goblin. Wisha, 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 said the trees at once. There, I told you, said the goblin, and they jumped back on the boughs of the faraway tree, and the children hugged one another and chuckled. I wonder if the squirrel has got up to the top of the slide yet, said Joe. As they spoke, a little sound came down the slide, a soft slinky sound, and suddenly something touched them. "Oh, it's a snake," said Bessie in alarm. "Oh, don't be silly, it's the rope that the good little squirrel has sent down," said Joe. "Now, we'd better go up one at a time, for Moonface will never be able to pull all of us up at once." So Fanny went up first. She was hauled all the way up the slide. It was very strange, so dark and quiet. At last she reached the top, and Moonface was there, red with pulling. A light burned in his funny round room. He was simply overjoyed to see her. He hugged her and then sent down the rope for Bessie. She came up and then Joe. "Don't make too much noise," said Moonface in a low voice as he squeezed them all in. "The goblins are outside everyone's door." "Oh, Moonface, we're so sorry that you're captured like this," said Joe. "Couldn't you have slid down the slide instead and escaped? Or do you think there may be goblins at the bottom?" "Well, I did," said Moonface, "but I also thought that if I slid down, I'd be leaving all my friends in the tree, and that seemed like a mean thing to do." "Yes, I agree, it would be rather mean to do," said Joe. "To save yourself and leave the others, Moonface, but what can I do to help?" "Well, I simply don't know," said Moonface. I've thought and I've thought, but I can't think of anything good at all." "It's a pity Silkie isn't here," said Joe. "We could talk it all over with her too, because she's very clever." "We can't possibly get to her," said Moonface. "She's locked in just as I am." "Joe! Moonface!" said Fanny suddenly, her face red with excitement. "I've thought of a way to help." "What?" said the others. "Well, couldn't the red squirrel slip down the slide out of the trapdoor and take a note to the brownies in the wood?" said Fanny. "Do you remember how we helped them when we first came to the wood, and they said that they would be pleased to help us if ever we wanted it?" "Yes, but how could they help?" said Moonface. Nobody quite knew, but Joe suddenly nodded his head and gave a squeal. "Shh!" said everyone at once. "Oh, sorry," said Joe. "But I really have got an idea at last. Listen. The red squirrel can tell the brownies to come up here in crowds. We'll pull them up on a rope. Then Moonface can shout out to the goblins outside, and then he'll tell them that the magic spells that they want to know, and when they open the door, the brownies and ourselves will all pour out and defeat the goblins." "That's a splendid idea," said Moonface, looking at Joe with admiration. "Simply wonderful," said the girls. Joe was pleased with himself. "And we'll unlock everyone's doors and they can all join in," he said. "My word, this is going to be exciting. Can you see how dreadfully angry the angry pixie will be, and Mr. What's-his-name? My goodness, they'll go for those red goblins like wildcats." Everyone chuckled. The red squirrel touched Joe's knees. "Will you give me the note then?" he said. "I know where Mr. Whiskers lives, and I will take the letter to him and let him call on the brownies all together." Joe took out his pencil and wrote a note on Moonface's paper. He folded it and gave it to the red squirrel, who folded it even smaller and then tucked it inside his cheek. "That's in case I get caught by the goblins," he said. "They'll never think of looking for the note inside my cheek." He sat on his bushy tail, gave himself a push, and set off right down the slippery slip at a tremendous pace. Fanny giggled. "His tail is his cushion," she said. "Isn't it, darling? I do hope he'll find Mr. Whiskers all right." "Well, We'd better just sit quietly and wait, said Moonface. I don't want the goblins opening my door and seeing you all here. They'll know that we've got a plan then. We bought you tea that you didn't come for this afternoon, said Bessie, and she undid the bag. Here are some radish sandwiches, some buns and some toffee. Oh, we could all have some then, said Moonface. And I've got some pot biscuits too. So they all sat round quietly at Moonface's curved sofa and bed and chairs, and they ate and whispered, waiting for the squirrel to come back with Mr. Whiskers and the brownies, whatever was going to happen next.